Now, what matters most to your markers are a good writing style, an argument justified with appropriate evidence, content that actually answers the question, and a clearly and logically structured argument. In other words, your examiners want you to demonstrate academic literacy in your writing. Now, here we have the basic structure of an essay. In this case, we have an introduction followed by 4 body paragraphs and a conclusion. The introduction is usually about 10% of your word count and provides context for the topic, an outline of the essay structure, and your argument that you're going to be making. This is followed by the body section where you have a sequence of paragraphs that build the argument. This section is usually about 80% of the word count. Finally, you have a conclusion that sums up the argument you made, and this is also 10% of the word count. You will notice blue arrows linking the paragraphs together. That is because all paragraphs should link together and flow naturally so as to make a good assignment. There's also a big arrow from the conclusion to the introduction. That is because the conclusion and the introduction should match and link together. As I said before, the introduction provides context for the assignment topic. So you provide background information and state the topic in your own words. In the introduction, you should indicate your position or the argument that the essay will be making. You should also limit the scope of your discussion, as you only have limited words and you cannot possibly discuss everything around a topic in, say, 1,000 words. Finally, you should include what is known as signposting. This is where you outline the structure of your essay. For example, this essay will discuss A, B, and C, which is then discussed in the body section. The body section is where you actually answer the question. So it's where you've put forward an argument in response to the topic you are given. You need to make sure that the body section is really easy to follow. Therefore, it needs to be really logically ordered. In terms of paragraph structure, you should follow what is known as the Teal structure of paragraphing. In this structure, you have a topic sentence that explains the topic of the paragraph. Followed by this is an explanation of why the topic is important to the overall topic of the essay. This is followed by evidence and examples that support the topic of the essay and the claims you are trying to make. Finally, you have a linking sentence that links the overall topic to the paragraph topic, and if possible, link to the next paragraph so as to improve the flow of your essay. In the conclusion, you make a conclusion, so you sum up the main points of your argument. You need to close your discussion. It therefore needs to be really obvious that this is the end of your essay. Do not introduce anything new into your conclusion that you have not already discussed in the essay. And importantly, do not take a position that contradicts the position you had at the start of the essay. Often we see essays where students, for example, say in the introduction, this essay will show A is correct, but then when they get to the conclusion, they say, therefore, B is correct, and they have argued themselves out of the position. To write paragraphs clearly, make sure that every paragraph has a point and follows the Teal structure as described before. You need a topic sentence, supporting sentence, and a linking sentence. This means a paragraph should be at least 3, but preferably more than 3 sentences long. Consider that the paragraph is the basic unit of the organization of your writing. Short paragraphs, therefore, often do not have enough substance to back up the claims they're trying to make. Similarly, very long paragraphs become difficult to read because the argument becomes convoluted. In terms of sentences, make sure that each sentence includes both a subject and a verb, and only one main idea. Now, as a guide, we suggest the sentence should be no more than 25 words long, as otherwise the sentence becomes too long and complicated to follow. Short sentences are, of course, easier to read than longer ones, but you should vary your sentence length so as to provide a natural reading pace. The reader should understand what you written in your essay on the first reading. Now, finally, it's important to know that at university you are not just writing a descriptive style of writing, but you are following analytical writing. In other words, you're not just stating what happened and giving the story so far. You are identifying the significance of a topic, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses, weighing up one piece of information over the other, and so forth, to make a reasoned judgment.